What happened that year, however, was that instead of writing, I decided I needed to become an activist. As I understood the developments by the 90s, and this was the year 1991, the calendar year. By the 90s, the newspaper business was undergoing tremendous change. The entire media industry was undergoing tremendous change. Television was feeling full impact. The technological revolution in terms of media. Newspapers had been undergoing for many years a lot of technological changes, but really on the brink of a whole new era. The era when not only were we beginning to lose readers, but in an era where there was some uncertainty about what the newspaper of the future would actually look like. And I think in many ways that uncertainty exists to this very moment. We are beginning to, employ the use of computers in many different ways. There are questions about, whether the newspaper of the future will be delivered on paper with ink or will it be delivered by computer. So I felt in 1991 that events were moving so fast that it was more important, if I was interested in this issue of racial diversity, it was more important to become part of the process than simply to write about it. And so at that point, I decided to run for president of the vice president rather, of the National Association for Black Journalists. And I have, this past year, been elected president of the National Association of Black Journalists. And I've continued to do the column. And the kind of ironic thing about it is that with all of my challenges sometime in the Post with people who did like my column, who didn't like my column, who tolerated my column, whatever, it seems to all have come full circle in a very interesting way now, because in the recent publication that I mentioned called Challenge and Change on Diversity, they talk about me as one of the leading journalists. And one of my colleagues came up to me and they said, well, we're glad to see that you've been, revived, reinstituted, And it's very, very, very typical of the difficulty and challenge of our business, They say in politics there are no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, and in journalism it's not what you do today, it's what you do tomorrow.